I'm back!
In this episode, Cody is still salty about Christine moving on. Let's talk about it. Hello everybody, my name is Jenny. This is Senior Perspective. We open up with Suki talking to Mary. And Suki says to Mary, Christine has met her soulmate. Do you think you will? And Mary says she hopes so. Suki goes on to ask Mary, have you met Christine's boyfriend? And she said yes, she has a couple of times. She said that he seems like he's a very nice guy, but she didn't have extensive conversations with him or anything like that. So very nice and pleasant. And Suki follows up with, how do you feel about them being engaged? Mary says that she's excited for them. This response by Mary seems very genuine. You can see in her countenance and her disposition just a lightness and a happiness for her. It's a very different part of her interview than when she was talking about Robin, where things were more intense. This whole part 4 with Mary, even beyond what I'm discussing today, there's a lightness, a levity, a happiness in her, which is really nice to see. So she ends it with that she's happy for her and excited for Christine. We cut to Janelle. Suki asks the same question, have you met David? And Janelle gets the largest smile on her face. Again, these genuine emotions of happiness for Christine makes me really happy. Janelle says, I think he's great. Then we cut to Cody. Obviously, he's not as happy for Christine.
That's an understatement.
He has not moved on yet. Boy, he is stuck. He is stuck in the mud. His ankles are 2 feet deep in quicksand, and he's continuing to go down. He cannot get out of it. He is not happy. He seems more bitter than ever.
Maybe I like the misery.
He contains himself and tries not to show it as much as he can. As the interview goes on, more and more of it comes out. So he starts off this way. I met him for 15 minutes. Robin mostly talked to him. She said that he was sweet, but I know nothing. I'm going to have to put a clip in here because I just remember underlining it. Like he punched the nothing. I don't understand what the point of him punching that word was.
Had a conversation, a very mild, light conversation. He mostly talked with Robin.
Okay.
She thought he was very sweet. But I know nothing.
Mm-hmm. Was it to be angry that he doesn't know anything but other people do? Or is it just to prove, don't ask me about David, I have nothing to share with you? I don't know. I don't know what his intent was, but it struck me as funny.
I see nothing. I know nothing.
He could have left it at, I only met him for 15 minutes and really didn't talk to him. Robin did all the talking. But he knows nothing. And then we do a flashback at this time, which I guess in the long run I understand why. At first I'm like, why are we going back to Salsa Brava again?
Again!
I really hope Salsa Brava is really making bank on this show. They should have a wait list 2 hours long from all of the free advertising that they have gotten from this show. If I'm ever in Flagstaff and we need to go someplace to eat, I would be like, well, where's Salsa Brava? People will be like, how do you know about Salsa Brava? It's a long story.
TV.
Junkie.
Guilty pleasure.
So she asks, do you remember the meeting that you had with Christine? And what I also found interesting is this is literally the only time he's ever talked to her since the divorce. So that's why it was brought up. I'm like, oh, yeah, they've really not had another meeting. Now, obviously they've had to have some, at least ships passing in the night when it comes to the truly trade-off. But they've never had extensive conversations, it seems like. So he says yes, and he qualifies it with the one where I'm like, I think you'd drive a truck over me if you could.
Huh?
So they had an entire dinner there. So they sat for at least an hour. They ordered food, got food, ate food. Typically, when I worked in restaurants, a turnover of a table was considered an hour and a half. So minimum an hour they were there. So his recollection of that meeting is when he said to Christine, I think you'd drive a truck over me if you could. He can't let go. He can't let go. He remembers his one-liner and had to remind us. Yeah, I thought that was a good one. That was a good one.
I am too smart. I am too smart. I am too smart. I am too smart. S-M-R-T. I mean S-M-A-R-T.
But let's go on and talk about that for a little bit. He expands and says, and she laughs hysterically, cynically. I was in a pretty bad place, and I didn't like her at all. What is the only other response? That's like a joking line. Clearly, nobody would ever run him over and do a felony that will put them in prison for the rest of their lives.
Other people's elections, Jim?
So it clearly was a joke. It was meant to be facetious in that. How was Christine supposed to react? Was she supposed to take it literally and be like, oh no, Cody, I would never run a truck over you. Maybe a Ford Fiat, but not a truck. The natural reaction that anybody would have if somebody said that to him would be to laugh it off. And he didn't like it. Well, that whole sit down at Salsa Brava, she was as bubbly and happy as could be. Do you remember the line where she's like, so you're still angry, huh?
I've really struggled. I've been pretty grouchy, very, very angry.
So you're still kind of angry and stuff?
I mean, yeah, that was her throwing in a little dig. I mean, I laughed out loud when I heard that. Because you can tell, like, his blood is boiling more and more and more because he's not over her. He's still mad at her. He hasn't moved on. Even though at that point it had been at least 6 months, if not a year, since this all went down, or at least from when it started till then. And she's like, bye.
Bye. See you when I see you. Goodbye.
We're over. We're divorced. I'm moving out of state. My life is going on. His life is not going on. Who's obsessed with who, Cody? We'll get to that later on in this episode. He goes on to say, I wish for her the absolute best. I hope for her all the happiness in life. But
I didn't mean any of that.
I mean, you learned in elementary school that if you give a compliment and then add but, you've completely negated everything you've just said. So just pretend like you didn't even say it. So Cody, isn't it? So Cody. I think you're the greatest thing in the world, but yeah. I wish for her all the absolute best. I hope for her all the happiness in life, but long pause. And I'm dying to know what he's going to say to negate this. And Suki interrupts.
All right, I'm gonna go cry.
She does not allow him to finish. But what? This was probably the most frustrated out of this entire one-on-one series I have ever been with Suki. I think I yelled out loud. And then I rewound because I thought, well, maybe my DVR skipped. Because I watched it like 2 days later from when it actually got to air. That was the worst interviewing I have ever seen. What could be better than him giving a compliment to Christine and saying, but, and then you want to hear what he has to say. Don't know. Suki didn't allow it.
Well, I guess we'll never know.
And she interrupts it with the line, that was a hard conversation. That was a hard lunch. Let's take a look at it. Not even a good reason to interrupt. Like, you know what? That was hard. Let's go watch it. Talk about giving Cody a pass here. I was so angry. So we watched the clip from Salsa Brava. So in this clip, Cody admits that he hated Christine.
The evil thoughts I had about you, but I was just.
He had evil thoughts about her and felt like F off, which he basically just did as our motion. Throughout all of this, as he's angry at her, Christine is smiling and nodding. It's so good. It's really so good. I had forgotten about how calm and composed she was during all of this.
The evil thoughts I had about you, but I was just.
Yeah, she has some good therapy, or she is just matured and really, really moving on. I mean, I think she is truly moving on.
I'm done with you.
Oh, that's nice.
So he's sitting here trying to slam her and insult her, and she's like smiling. Do you remember when he made the comment, you're mean like that? And she just went, oh. And she was smiling. during that time. That had to make him twice as mad.
I was out of my mind. But when I talk about getting anxiety, Christine, and depression,
I know, and I'm sorry to even laugh a little bit, but Gwendolyn was like, yeah.
you mean that way. It's okay.
Cody, her description of you.
She didn't get insulted or hurt. He's trying to hurt her. She's the one that's like Teflon, Cody. Everything you say just slides right off of her. Christine's saying to him, so it was grief over me leaving more than anything. Or it's over, or something's over. Like she's trying to figure out why he's upset, where this grief is coming from. And he says it's more than that. It was the big picture. And she kind of has that shocked look on her face. Christine in an interview is responding to it. And she says, Cody is trying to blame me for the deterioration of his big picture when it is his fault, because the big picture has fallen apart because of how Cody has acted the last 10 years leading up to this. No argument there. I say we could even go back further than 10 years, but okay, we'll say 10 years. The introduction of Robin to the family.
Sort of talk me to the kids. I kind of feel like, in my heart, I just never want to see her again. And I want to spend some time hating her.
So after that whole clip is shown to Cody, Suki now wants to dissect it. And she says, okay, let's dissect this. And Cody seems excited, like he has his talking points ready to come back. And she says, let's talk about how you use the word hate. Cody does not expect that question, and he pauses and stutters. That's how you know. So he's quickly trying to put something together to justify why he used hate in that sentence. Here's what Cody says. Well, listen, it was an uncomfortable life with her when we were in Las Vegas. Got a little worse in Flagstaff, and she said she's going to leave. Okay, let me just pause for a second. We have not answered the question about hate. So he started his stuttering at the beginning and then thought, I'm just going to give you a response that I've memorized to other questions that are kind of related to this, but I'm not at all going to address your question. And let me just point out, Suki does not ever circle back and say, okay, but why did you use hate? Like, where's the hate coming from? That would have been such a great question. That's what we want to know. Dig deep, Cody. Why do you still hate Christine so much when you never loved her and didn't enjoy being in a relationship with her at all? Why the hate? Okay. Let me go back to reading what Cody's response was. So he says, it got a little worse in Flagstaff, and she said she was going to leave. And I never wanted that to happen. And I'm like going, oh, so we've suffered all these years together and you're going to quit? I mean, sorry, I got to pause. So we've suffered all this time and you're going to quit? I mean, if he would have said, oh, we worked really hard and we had this great loving relationship all this time and now you're going to leave, I would get that. But he's like, we've suffered all this time and you're going to quit? Oh, it makes no sense. Okay, let's go on. He says, that was my feeling. But what bothers me is her disposition towards me. But what bothers me is her disposition towards me. That she laughs, mocks my suffering, and laughs about it. And I'm going, sorry, I have to shiver every time I hear him say that. And I'm going this, and she's going that, and I'm going this. No one's going anywhere. You're talking. I said, I'm thinking. Come on, Cody, get it together. All right, sorry, speech language pathologist. Sometimes I can't.
It's okay.
I would not allow my elementary school kids to say that. I'm just saying. Okay, moving on. Hi, everybody. You've made it halfway through the episode. Thank you so much for sticking it out. But guess what? It gets way better. If you like what you've seen so far, subscribe. And here's the rest of the video. And I'm going, well, I think you'd drive a truck over me if you could. And she's, oh no, I wouldn't. Ha ha ha. But you're suffering. I enjoy it, and it pisses me off. Okay, we have to dissect those words a little bit because there's scattered thoughts all around. Some of it is quotes by him, some of it's quotes by her, some of it's thoughts of his right now. He's all over the place without using any language to delineate what's what. So we have to break it down. And I'm going, so this is a quote. He said, well, I think you'd drive a truck over me if you could, end quote. And she's, quote, oh no, I wouldn't, ha ha ha, end quote. Okay. I have to go back and look at the clip. I don't remember that she said, oh no, I wouldn't. But, I mean, that's less of an argument on his part if she actually came out and said, no, I wouldn't. So he's mad at her flippant response. No, I wouldn't, ha 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 ha. And then he goes on to say, but your suffering, I enjoy.
And I'm going, well, I think you'd drive a truck over me if you could. She's like, oh, no, I wouldn't, ha ha ha. But your suffering, I enjoy.
And it just pisses me off. Okay, so I think he means, but your suffering I enjoy is what is going on in Christine's head, because I don't believe she ever said that. And it just pisses me off.
But your suffering I enjoy. And it just pisses me off. She's just kind of teasing, pushing buttons, being the mean girl.
I think we're now going back to what Cody was thinking. Again, we haven't indicated this in any way, but this is the only way these sentences and words all together, mushed together, make sense. It's like has this act going on in his head of what people were saying and what people were thinking, and it's dialogue on a script, but we don't have the names, and we don't have whether it's a subtext of what they're supposed to be thinking during this time or what they're actually saying. And we're all supposed to just be in Cody's head and understand what he means.
It's a scary place.
All right, so after I broke it down and I looked over it over and over again, those sentences in that order, that's the only thing that makes sense. First, he actually said, well, I think you'd drive a truck over me if you could. Then Christine actually said, oh no, I wouldn't, and laughed. And then he says, but your suffering I enjoy, implying Christine is thinking that. And then he said, and it just pisses me off, which is what he was thinking.
This is killing me.
And at the end he says, she's just kind of teasing, pushing buttons, being the mean girl. You coming out and saying you never loved your wives all those years with all the children you had?
You're a mean girl.
That trumps her saying, no, I wouldn't run you over with a truck. He has no leg to stand on here. He has been so mean to his children and wives, ex-wives. It's all documented on this television series. And when Christine says, no, I wouldn't run a truck over you, and laughs, he calls that teasing, pushing buttons, and being a mean girl. The distortion of reality is amazing, isn't it? And then Suki redeems herself by coming up with a good follow-up question because she can see his anger and vitriol at Christine, who's clearly jovial during this entire lunch. And Suki asks Cody, was it hard for you to see her happy? In that clip, she's happy. And Cody comes back with his instant, no. That is his go-to demeaning of women response, isn't it? I don't remember ever seeing him do that with his brothers or his one friend. No. Let me put you in your place. You've got it all wrong. Oh, come on, female brain. Let me help you out.
So, I will speak slowly.
So Cody says, no, she's not happy. Oh, state it like it is, Cody. You're right, she's not happy. She's ecstatic. She's trying to hold it in. She is on cloud 9. But Cody's like, no, she's not happy. He goes on to say, she's mean. She's not happy. She's mean. Well, he could be both. And he says, there's a difference. Okay? He says, I know her. In the most arrogant way.
She's happy.
No, she's not happy. She's mean. There's a difference. I know her.
Then he goes on to say, she's happy. I am going to be happy for the little priest before the next season begins. Because the way he speaks and contradicts himself within one answer response. It's not like this was a question a couple episodes ago, so it was asked to him a few hours ago in the interview. This is the same answer in the same response. All right, we're going to go back. He starts off with, no, she's not happy. She's mean. There's a difference. I know her. She's happy. She's mocking everything about my pain, about anything that I've gone through. What does that mean? He's just throwing words here. He's throwing words.
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere like such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries, so we will be able to build up our future.
Trying to turn it around so that nobody thinks that Christine is happy. We don't want that narrative out there. We want to think that she's miserable and that she's obsessed with Cody still. She's mocking everything about my pain, about anything that I've gone through. She's mocking it. If I trip and fall and like she laughs out loud, she thinks that stuff's funny. I mean, I don't know. There is a whole class of people out there who enjoy slapstick humor. I don't tend to be that person, but I know many people like that. One of my daughter's best friends in middle school and high school, she was that person who just inappropriately laughed and would always say, I don't know why I'm laughing. It's not funny when somebody gets hurt, but it makes me laugh so much. And I have friends, I know adults who are the exact same way. It's not my genre. My father loves slapstick humor.
Wait a minute! This is getting monotonous.
Oh, monotonous, eh?
Oh, that's different. You see that?
Yeah.
Oh!
I will say, though, if I saw Cody trip and fall, I would probably laugh. Because the thought of it in my head makes me laugh. So I'm thinking I might laugh out loud at him. So it may be situational for me. And he goes on to say, now, I thought he was reflecting on a time that he tripped and he was doubling down and telling us about it. But now he's doing his analogy again. Okay, so here we go into Cody being poetic. Cody poetry, here we go. I have tripped. I have fallen. This has literally unraveled my family and destroyed all of my dreams. Sorry, Robin. All of Cody's dreams are destroyed. I know you're still there with him. You're obviously not part of his dream, according to his words, if we believe what Cody says out of his own mouth. He goes on to say about Christine, and she's riding off into the sunset to a happier life.
Yes, she is.
Bitter lately? And I'm sitting here, not picking up the pieces, but just in the place where I'm going, well, I guess I've got to figure out how my life looks. I find it interesting to say that he's not picking up the pieces. First of all, that would be the grown-up thing to do, is when life hands you lemons, turn it into lemonade. When things go bad, pick up the pieces and keep going. So he makes a point to say, I'm not picking up the pieces. I am not going to be the adult in this relationship. But then he goes on to say, well, I guess I've got to figure out how my life looks. Well, that's kind of like picking up the pieces. So that's a good thing, Cody. 1 sentence ago, you said you're definitely not picking up the pieces. You made a point to say that. Contradictory statements. Some things never change. So Christine responds to this. Now, I find this interesting because there is one point where Suki references something Christine said in her interview to Cody and said, Christine said this. And Cody's like, oh, she said that? And then he gives a response to it, as if to imply Christine was the first to be interviewed. So now I'm thinking they did cycle through everybody twice. I don't know that for a fact, but just based on who's responding to what somebody else said that day, it seems that way. Okay, let's go on. So then Christine is talking about her response and reaction to Cody at Salsa Brava. And she starts saying how all her life she always identified with the Disney villains as opposed to the princesses.
Too Cruella.
She implies she was kind of channeling her inner villain at that point, and she liked it. I think Cody's going to be even more pissed when he hears it. Even though he's right, I think he's going to be even more pissed because he's going to realize she went in there and that she was thinking she was going to be this way. She was going to channel that inner villain because she was never allowed to channel her inner villain when she lived with him. So she did, and she liked it. I think that's going to drive him even crazier. I don't think he's going to get satisfaction out of being right. Just my opinion. What I do have to say is I so love Christine's honesty in this interview. She has gotten to the point in her life. She has said she felt squelched down, that she couldn't be herself, that she had to be the dutiful wife who was just happy and fun and the fun-loving one at all times and could never really be herself. Now that she's herself, she's letting it all air out. And because Cody could squash her down for 20 years and now he can't anymore and she's free to say whatever,
I'm living my best life.
He's going out of his mind.
I think I'm losing control of them.
Christine is the only one who's completely honest in all of these interviews. Janelle is hiding a lot. She doesn't want to stir any water, so she's just trying to take the high road in everything and throw nobody under the bus. Well, a little bit of Robin, but she could say so much more than she is.
Why can't we all just get along?
Mary is tight-lipped. She's not saying anything negative about anybody, really. Even when she kind of threw Robin under the bus and exposed a story none of us knew, she instantly came back and said, but we're past that, and we've moved on, and I've forgiven her, I'm trusting her again.
It's all good.
Which isn't true because she started it by saying that she doesn't completely trust Robin, but we've been through that video already. So there's game playing going on there too. Robin, well, every other thing out of her mouth is a lie, so there's no honesty there.
I lie a lot to people.
And Cody attempts to talk using nonsense soliloquies and analogies and putting words together that make no sense and using words that don't belong in the sentence, which makes his speech completely unintelligible and nonsensical and essentially invalid. Christine is telling it like it is. The good, the bad, the ugly.
Oh my god.
I'm here for it.
Suki asks Cody, do you blame Christine for breaking up your big picture? And Cody comes back with, no, I blame myself.
Really?
And at that moment, I thought, whoa, when did he become reflective? Like, we're growing up as this interview's going on. Like, he's taking responsibility here. And I've never heard him say, I blame myself.
You got me.
He goes on to say, it's not my fault for marrying a woman I did not love. Suki responds in shock to that.
Do you blame her for destroying the big picture?
No, because that's all my fault for marrying a woman I didn't love.
Ouch.
And Cody doubles down. He says, no, that's the truth. And she knows it. He says, and as hard as I work at it and dug into it and went every devotion that I could have, that still was prevailing for us. It never really worked. Just for S and giggles, let's go back and read that one more time because it makes no sense.
I, as hard as I worked at it and dug into it and went every devotion that I could have, that still was prevailing for us. It never really worked.
Here's Cody responding to the shock of Suki. So he says something that's mean and that's a dig. And then he sees Suki's response of shock and she says, ouch! Like she's disgusted with him. And all of a sudden he realizes, whoa, I got to keep this woman interviewer on my side. Maybe I went too far. So he doubles down and says, no, that's the truth. And she knows it. Like, no, I'm not giving a dig. I'm just speaking my truth. And Christine knows that's the truth too. And then goes on to say, and as hard as I worked at it and dug into it and went every devotion that I could have, that still was prevailing for us. It never really worked.
That makes like 0 sense.
Words. Grabbing random words, putting them together, and calling it a sentence. Somebody has to sit Cody down and tell him at the most basic level, a sentence needs a subject and a verb.
So now that you understand the relationship between nouns and verbs, I hope you can see that you can't read, write, or speak without them.
Ideally, a direct object or something it would modify for a little bit longer sentence, but these random words he's pulling together and sticking in, and then fragmented sentences that don't get completed, and he starts another one, but it doesn't make sense, and it's not related to the previous one. Oh my goodness.
That's it. I can't take it no more.
That was a classic example. I'm moving on. Suki asks Christine, do you think that Robin wants to live a plural life? And Christine is thinking long and hard about how to respond to this. She's making kind of odd faces in that.
I think Robin really wants to live a plural life at this point, from what you've been saying.
Suki does, kind of like her usual follow-up to get somebody to talk. I don't remember what it was. It was something like, because now that everyone's gone, or, something along that line. And then Christine finally answers the question, and she says, no, I don't think she has any desire to live polygamy or plural marriage. I don't think so. I believe this is the point where Suki said to Cody, Christine thinks Robin doesn't want to live polygamy. I didn't write that down in my notes, but I think that's where she said that. I might be wrong, but I have written down what his response was. And he said, I don't think Christine knows Robin at all. She never tried. She's never been there. Nah, she was a shitty sister wife. He's trying hard to put her down as much as he possibly can. The question was about Robin. She said, Christine thinks that this is what Robin thinks. What do you think? We can't talk about Robin here. We have to talk about Christine. He's so obsessed with Christine. All he had to say was, that's not true. I know Robin very well. I've lived practically exclusively with her for the past 10 years, and she really wants another sister wife, and she wanted all of these wives to stay. That's all he had to say, but he couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. He says, I don't think Christine knows Robin at all. So we're talking about Christine. We're still talking about Christine. She never really tried. She's never been there. Nah, she was a sister wife.
Yo, you know what? You're so freaking obsessed.
Okay. What kind of sister wife she was has nothing to do with the question about, do you think Robin wants to continue to live in polygamy? But all right, let's keep talking about Christine. He's so obsessed. And he goes on to keep talking about Christine. He says she'll probably be a good wife for David. And then he says she wasn't a good fit. I don't know what he means by that. She wasn't a good fit in the family? Like, all I can think of is he's trying to take things that have been said about Robin and flip the script and direct them all towards Christine. Maybe thinking that we would all jump on board and believe him like we haven't seen 18 seasons? I don't know.
Do you think I'm stupid?
But Christine wasn't a good fit. The OG3 were fine for 15 years until somebody else who wasn't a good fit came into the family and blew it up. Who blew up the family? The whole bomb? Robin, Cody. It wasn't Christine. It was Robin. Cody goes on to talk about Christine.
What a surprise.
Okay. And he says there's 1,000 reasons Christine wasn't good in polygamy. I want to say that at this point, I think Suki's so shocked that he's going on this rampage about Christine. There's a clip, I'll put it in here, where her face is kind of like, what's going on here? And she's like biting her lip in trying to not respond. You know, when you kind of like, I'm going to try not to say something here. Like, I think she's shocked at how he's unraveling and reeling here.
These are all the reasons she wasn't good in polygamy, but that's all the reasons probably I wasn't.
Cody goes on to say that he admits that the reasons that Christine didn't work out are probably the same reasons he didn't do well in plural marriage. I'm trying to think, what are the reasons that he would think Christine wasn't good in plural marriage that would be equal to why he's not good in plural marriage? Which is interesting because he's laying the groundwork here for, I'm not going to take on another sister wife. I mean, Christine wasn't good in plural marriage because she wasn't 100% subservient. She wasn't a doormat.
Yes, master.
She had an opinion and she spoke up and shared her thoughts.
Like, I am woman, hear me roar.
And that wasn't okay in this dynamic. That's very different from Cody not being good in plural marriage because he spent all his time, energy, and love on one wife, ignoring the other three and all of their children.
Very different.
How these two are the same, I don't know. I would have loved a follow-up question here from Suki saying, can you name just one of the reasons why you both were not good in plural marriage? What are those reasons that you both share? Opportunity missed again. He goes on to say, Christine making accusations against Robin is just sour graping. Oh, okay. First of all, that line is golden. Let's just point out, first of all, Christine's not making accusations about Robin here. She answered the question that Suki asked her. That's it. He's turning this over in his head and making a mountain out of a molehill. But I love that he says that Christine is just sour graping. He's completely made up a word on his own.
Did you make that up?
Yes.
Which absolutely makes no sense. But let's just for a second give him the benefit of the doubt and say it is an example of sour grapes. Still wouldn't apply, right? Because sour grapes is like, let me think of an example. Sour grapes is when there's something that you really want and you don't have it, and so you're bitter about it. Her saying Robin doesn't want to live plural marriage doesn't have anything to do with sour grapes. There's nothing there that Christine wants that she's bitter about. Christine couldn't be more happy. Bitter is the opposite. Bitter is Cody, and we are learning he is so good at projecting. Everything that he's feeling, he's saying she's feeling.
You're projecting.
And I'm not a psychologist. Again, told you, 2 undergrad psychology classes. That's all I took. But you can see this from a mile away. You don't have to have a psychology degree to see that Cody is projecting his thoughts and feelings onto Christine. But the best is yet to come, people.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Okay, we're stopping here for today. This is only the first 20 minutes of the episode. But there was a lot to say and cover. Thank you all for watching, subscribing, commenting. I love you all.
I can't wait. I can't wait.